Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Financially Alpha. We're here with my friend Jeff, and I've known Jeff for many years. And we, every time we see each other, either I'm working or we're with family. You're with family, and so we really can't sit down and talk about business because it'll be a little bit rude, cutting business into family time, right? So, and then how many years have we known each other, Jeff? Maybe 3, 4 years? More than that.
Yeah, probably more than that. I think we started becoming acquainted at the old Lincoln Square.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's been a while.
Yeah, and then I saw you at Cabos, and no, was it before that? I think it was before Cabos. I think it
Yeah,
was at Poblanos.
yeah,
Yeah, and I've always wanted to do a meeting because we always talk about real estate. And but then the other day we were talking how like your main thing is entrepreneurship. So I was like, oh, I really need to talk to Jeff. And I'm excited to pick at your brain and get all your knowledge, all your years of knowledge, and squeeze them down to 30 minutes.
yeah.
If
Sounds
that's
good. Look
possible,
forward to it.
right? And so tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah. So I started out as an entrepreneur pretty early on, Daniel. I graduated from Hanover College in 1992 and had some work there a few years after in the financial services arena. And then my wife and I bought our first business in 1996. We had started a uh, craft business just prior to that. So we had a craft business that was growing, and then we bought a tanning salon out of all things. You can see
Yeah.
I'm not an avid tanner, but nonetheless, I just had this drive and passion to own my own business, and so we bought a tanning salon down on the south side of town in the Greenwood area, and owned that for several years while also building our craft business. We specialized in men's gifts out of all things and had kiosks throughout various craft malls across 5 states. And so uh,
Wow.
sold the tanning salon in 2001. And then it was about the same time that it seemed like we were working really hard, Daniel, in the craft business and not making a lot of money. And so we transitioned from that into the design and import and wholesale side of the industry. So same industry, but um, what I say is a much faster ship. We were able to scale much faster. Um, my wife Amy made a lot of the designs. We had those made overseas. Spent
Wow.
quite a few trips over in Asia doing sourcing and working with factories over there. So we
Really?
imported the product, and then we wholesaled to gift shops around the country and Canada for that matter. And so we owned
Wow.
that business for several years. We had a record year, believe it or not, going into the end of 2007, and then the recession of 2008 hit, as you might recall, and gave us a pretty good haircut. And so um, we
Yeah.
found a buyer for that business back in 2012. Uh, I've done some other things over the course of time, but just some of the more, I guess, more notable ones to mention. Shortly after selling that business, I got involved into investment real estate, and that was more from an income replacement than anything. And so we purchased several rental properties here in the Noblesville area and managed
Wow.
um, for several years. And then about the same time, well, I guess, yeah, it was about the same time, around 2011, 2012 timeframe, I started a small business brokerage company where I help small business owners, particularly business owners, find buyers for their business. And so um, had that business until about 2016. Um, when I went full time at Butler University. My investment real estate business, I started winding that down um, over time, as well. Went full-time with Butler University in 2016. I did some adjuncting and some mentoring there in the 13-14 time frame. And now I teach entrepreneurship and innovation here at Butler, and I've been doing that full-time since 2016.
Since 2016? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How's COVID impacted you and your students?
Well, it's sorry, I'm closing down my email here. I apologize for those alerts.
No.
Well, it really affected, I guess, everyone academically across the nation. Probably equally as much. We had protocols for wearing masks and social distancing, and there was a time where we had to be solely online for a couple weeks, and then. But for the most part, my class, I was able to meet in person for most of the last year, with the exception of a few online days, or those times mandated by the university. It made it more challenging. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It was certainly challenging, but students were still able to start their real businesses. That's what the course that I teach, or the program that I'm a part of, is the Real Business Experience program there. And they were still able to start businesses and be able to interact in the marketplace to get feedback on their ideas. So I would say overall it was still a very productive year.
Yeah, about that program, do you have to be enrolled in Butler University, or can anybody join?
Yeah, so the Real Business Experience program is primarily a sophomore level program there, Daniel. And so it's required of all business majors that are coming through the business school there, in addition to some pharmacy students that are taking what's called a business and healthcare major.
Okay, great. Cool. Yeah, so you started as an entrepreneur, and then you evolved as a businessman, and then you started as a real estate. Was it hard to transition from those levels, or could you take from one knowledge from the entrepreneurship and then translate it into real estate?
Yeah, I think, for me, entrepreneurship was kind of an evolving knowledge base, if you will. My first business was a smaller business than what my import company was. And I think for me, I was just gradually gaining knowledge, and it seemed like the more knowledge I gained, the more I was able to scale those businesses. So the transition from actually owning a bricks and mortar type business to crossing over into real estate, it wasn't much of a crossover. There was less moving pieces and parts in a real estate management business than there was for example, in our import business. So from that standpoint, it was much easier to run.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a couple of questions right here, and this is more like a straight fire, like question after question. They're not going to be in order. They're kind of going to be a little bit everywhere. And so my first question is, why do you think most people don't start a business? Is it a lack of knowledge, lack of time, or lack of capital?
Well, I guess maybe I would pick two of those answers, Daniel, that you gave me there. I think one, a lot of people are working full-time jobs, right? And they have families. And so from a time standpoint, it's often challenging to make that switch. The other reason is, I think, capital. Capital is hard to come by when you're starting off, particularly if you don't have a lot of business experience, or you don't have an existing business that's showing traction in the marketplace. So it can be very challenging to get money to start up a business.
It's scary for a lot of people. Yeah. For everybody, pretty much.
Yeah. All
right. So, do you think do you need a large amount of capital to start a business?
I think it depends on the business, Daniel. If it's a home-based business or an online business, maybe less capital than, say, if you're leasing space in a strip mall and having to buy a lot of equipment. So I think it's business specific.
Yeah, it depends on what field you want to go into, right? I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, that makes sense. So, what would your advice be for a 20-year-old who wants to start a business? They're just got out of high school and they're out into the real world, and they decided they want to start a business. What advice would you give those people?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Daniel. I think my first piece of advice is get some business experience. Get experience working for someone else, right? Learn about work, learn about managing people, um, different job functions. Try to get as much experience as you can in the business. Maybe working with accounting and finance, working with inventory, customer service, management, scheduling, just basic business functions. Try to take some classes if at all possible. You know, um,
Yeah,
if you can take a full, go to college full time and get some business background, that would be great. If not, maybe a community college where you can fill in and maybe cherry pick some of those important classes that you're going to need as an entrepreneur would be advisable. The other thing too is if you're really interested in a particular business, ideally try to get a job there, whether it's the business
yeah,
you're interested in buying or starting, and learning as much as you possibly can about that business. I remember when I was in college, one of my professors gave me that exact advice. If you want to own a hardware store, go to work for one. Learn all you can about it so you can, first of all, figure out if you even like it, right? Uh, but then you learn everything that there is to know. That way you reduce a lot of the uncertainty and risk when you do start your own business. So um,
yeah,
off the top of my head, um, that really is probably a good starting place. The other thing is really taking your time, making sure that there's a good product market fit. And what I mean by that is if you have a particular business idea, meeting with someone, say like a SCORE counselor. I happen to volunteer with SCORE. We have a great chapter here in the Indianapolis area, and
sure.
it's full of working and retired executives that volunteer their time to help prospective business owners shorten their learning curve. An amazing resource
Wow.
we have here in Cam, Daniel. And just sitting down with a mentor, it can either be with SCORE or someone that's been in business currently as an entrepreneur, and learning as much as you possibly can, because you don't know what you don't know if you've never owned a business before. And so,
Exactly.
the other side of that is testing. Um, Now, in the old days, it was write a business plan and then, you know, see if it's going to sink or swim out in the marketplace. After you leased a building, you've already mortgaged your house, bought equipment, and you may find out at that point that it wasn't a good idea. We've got a lot more knowledge now than what we used to have, and there's a particular testing method or movement that is very popular at business schools now and is sweeping across the country, and that's called the Lean Startup. And I would encourage your subscribers to check it out, particularly if they're interested in starting their business, because it talks about getting as much feedback as you can from the marketplace before you
Yeah.
even start something, to make sure that there's actually a need for your product in the market and that people are actually willing to pay for your particular product or service.
Yeah, like right now, everybody, it seems like all the young people that I talk to, they're like, oh, I want to go into crypto. Like that's like what's super hot right now and the cool thing to go into crypto and trading. And they're kind of forgetting a little bit of the fundamentals of like a need. Like if there's a need, fill it. And I don't think crypto's going to be it might be right. We are heading to a futuristic where money is going to be just digitalized, and so I'm pretty sure we will. But it's going to be there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, cool. So what do you think is the most rewarding about starting a business? Like as a man, as a person, what does that do to you, to your confidence, to your self-esteem, to like if you're already a person that loves to give, how does that impact you? Do you think it will change you?
I think definitely, Daniel. I think, looking at my journey, just as an example, um, one of the things is just independence. Not everybody is cut out to, go to high school, go to 4 years of college, and then go work in a big company and sit in a cubicle all day, right? As just an example,
Yeah.
and so entrepreneurship provides an alternative at really any juncture in a person's life. For me, it was all about independence. I was really stubborn, and looking back, I'm not sure that was the best personality characteristic to have, but I was really stubborn and I wanted to work for myself and do my own thing. And entrepreneurship was a pathway for me. It gave me that opportunity to do my own thing. I was creative, not from the sense of an artistic standpoint, but I think you'll find that a lot of entrepreneurs are creative. They like creating. They like starting something and building and seeing that come to fruition,
Yeah.
and finding other people that enjoy that in the form of customers that purchase it, and being able to scale a business. And for me, I really enjoyed the creation part, and then also scaling, seeing that grow from something into a source of cash flow. And so
Yeah.
entrepreneurship means different things to different people. But I would say it's certainly a pathway for independence, the ability to create, to innovate, to disrupt
Yeah.
existing products or industries that are out there already. And it can also be a great source of economic empowerment for people too, that don't necessarily want to follow the typical corporate route.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Like everybody can be an entrepreneur, right? But do you think entrepreneurs are made or they're born?
Yeah, I think they're made, Daniel. I mean, I think, sure, you can make the argument that you're born with, drive, initiative, and those are things that are important as an entrepreneur. But I think you have to evolve as an entrepreneur. Um, you just don't come by entrepreneurship naturally. Sure, it helps if you've come from a family of entrepreneurs and had those role models in your life, but not all of us
Yeah.
did, right? And so I think it's something that you have to learn, you have to try, you have to put your line in the water, so to speak, and test it out and see if it's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
I didn't. I came from a normal middle class family, uh, and so I was the first entrepreneur in our family, and so
Wow.
hopefully I can be a role model for our kids in that regard, if that's a path that they want to go down.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, my mother started a not small grocery store in Mexico. So I remember her working on that, and I used to hate it because I would be like, "Mom, can we go over there to my aunt's house? Can we go to the park? Can we go to the water park?" And she would always say no because we were tied to the store. So I guess I'm second generation of entrepreneurs, uh, and she sold that eventually because it didn't work out, and we moved here to the States after that. But it was fun and seeing my mom working and talking to people and selling, and so yeah, so that's pretty cool. Like you are going to be a role model because just like my mother was a role model, like kids see that, like
Yeah.
we're always paying attention to everything. Cool.
Yeah.
So
I kind of take that back a little bit, Daniel, as you were talking there. My mom had a in-home daycare, and so there was a lot of entrepreneurs that transpired as a result of that. But also, I was thinking too at the same time, I think there were a record number of businesses that were started during the COVID season. So I think it just goes to show that a lot of people are interested in entrepreneurship now, as compared to maybe earlier years. Sorry about that.
no worries, no worries. Yeah. All right. So you talked about a little bit, a couple of books. Was it a book or right that you were saying?
So the lean startup is a method that's being used in many business schools across the country and by entrepreneurs. And there's two books that I would recommend that your subscribers take a look at. The first one is the Startup Owner's Manual by Steve Blank, Blank, and he had a student who was Eric Reese, and he wrote a book titled The Lean Startup. Now, younger generations are much more internet prone and may not be interested in the books, and so I would encourage, if you have any subscribers that are more internet prone, just researching lean startup or lean business method online, and you'll find a lot of information about that.
Yeah. Was that one of the books that you read recently, or is that one of the books that you read?
So we used the Lean Startup by Eric Reese in our Real Business Experience program for a number of years. I know that one of the other professors there uses the Startup Owner's Manual. I think that's the book that he uses, or another one by Steve Blank, as I recall. But yes, I've read them both, and but I think just as easily Googling videos on YouTube, they could learn a lot of information about that. And SCORE counselors can also help them through that process as well. And again, it's all the lean comes from keeping enough dry powder on the sidelines until you find a business that demonstrates that there's a lot of demand for it. In other words, let's keep as lean or as conservative as possible until we prove demand in the marketplace.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's.
And the second part of that is not only is there demand in the marketplace, meaning there's a good product market fit, but that the founder is capable of executing the business model at the same time.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to check it out, and there's a lot of resources on YouTube and even Audible. Have you heard that app, Audible? I'm not sponsored by them, but I really like it because when I'm driving, instead of listening to music, I would just pop a book and let the Audible app start reading it to me, and that's always fun to me. Kind of makes me have more time instead of just sitting at home and just read a book. I think the Audible is, I could do two things at a time, either when I'm going to a meeting or when I'm going to work, when I'm going to the gym. Like, it makes me create more time for me to do other stuff. Yeah. So have you heard about the myth about, well, I'm not sure, I call it a myth, right? But the self-made man. Do you think that's a real thing, or do you think that's just it's a myth? Because the self-made man, pretty much you do everything. You're the guy that does the accounting. You're the one who does all the negotiating. You're the one who does all the sales. Like, you have different hats. Do you think that that's a good method?
Well, I'll tell you, I got some great advice years ago from someone that read the book called The E-Myth. It's one that I would definitely recommend your subscribers check out. And what the E-Myth is all about is about working on your business, not in your business. And I think a lot of first-time entrepreneurs in particular, they get caught up working in their business, and therefore they don't have time to work on their business, so their business doesn't grow. And one thing that first-time entrepreneurs and even more seasoned entrepreneurs, I think, can benefit from is developing processes and systems to train other people to do various functions in their business, which relieves them, allows them to kind of catch their breath, if you will, and then for the owner then to spend time on things that are important to grow the business, like marketing, right? And getting out there and networking and looking for joint ventures and getting out into the marketplace and looking for growth opportunities. And so, unfortunately, as a startup, you are doing everything yourself, right? That's just the nature of the beast. You don't have a lot of extra capital to outsource. But I think, the longer I've been an entrepreneur, I'm very keen now on outsourcing or advising others to outsource as much as they possibly can, and developing processes and systems so that they get predictable results, but hiring other people to do the work. That way the entrepreneur can work on the business to grow the business.
Yeah, true. That's very important. There's a book out there by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he's
love it.
About how you need to transition from employee to self-employed, and then to business and investor. And so one way from transferring from self-employed to business is through systems. So yeah, that's pretty much what you said. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Great book, love it.
Yeah, one of my first books. I was 18 when somebody recommended it, and it didn't really click until later in my 20s when I was like, wait, I was supposed to read that book. I think I only read the first chapter.
Yeah.
So last question before we go, we're running out of time. And so you kind of mentioned a little bit of how important is how you have a group of other entrepreneurs, like-minded people. So how important is it to hang around like-minded people?
Good question. So back in around the 2005-ish time frame, I was a member of a CEO group, Daniel, and it was other business owners like myself that owned businesses for the most part that had scaled. Were in the middle market range, and there was a group of 10 give or so entrepreneurs that met on a monthly basis, and we would get together, and what you found out is you had similar problems, and you were able to actually help others through those problems. And some companies were bigger, some were smaller. We were able to share growth ideas, best practices, just really give a lot of advice and working through things that that you were going through. And so I think what you find as an entrepreneur, it's lonely at the top. You're the only one there. In some cases you don't have any employees, or if you do, you're not sharing the behind the scenes with those employees. And so sometimes it's just you, and you may not have a large network, and you have to make decisions on your own, and that can be hard. And so I think the more you can find like-minded people, whether it's meetup groups or LinkedIn groups. I mean, there's all types of ways to network now, right? Than compared to what there used to be Facebook groups of like-minded individuals, just sharing with each other and helping each other through problems and challenges, and stretching one another can just be a great thing.
Yeah, because it's been said that you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with, and that I think that is super true, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for being here with us and giving us a lot of golden nuggets and a lot of knowledge. And hopefully we can do a second interview sometime in the future, an update.
Yeah, happy to do that, Daniel. Thanks so much, and appreciate the opportunity to get in front of your subscribers, and would love to come back.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. See you later.
All right. Take care. Take care, sir.
Bye-bye.